Welcome back to the Shacknews Awards. We are just handing out all sorts of wonderful awards today to video games and companies and people and non-playable characters even. But now we're going to talk about Gore, the best Gore. To qualify for this, you just have to have some element of violence in your game, but we can appreciate it from either an artistic or just sheer amount of blood and guts standpoint. So, games like Mortal Kombat would show up here, Gears of War, Resident Evil, games with guts and blood and explosions and headshots, all that stuff. That's how you get nominated for this category. And you had to release this year. So here are the nominees, and then we'll get to voting. Helldivers 2. We got some big explosions. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, Slitterhead, and last but not least, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, which is basically a remake. Sam, you probably have the most hours in Helldivers 2 at anyone here.
Yes.
Let's talk about the gore in this game.
Let's talk about the gore. It is quite visceral. Your poor little Helldiver can be blown to bits, squished, crushed, burnt, gassed. All those delightful things that you like to happen to your character and see them suffer and blown through the air like a ragdoll effect.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like, honestly, I have more fun watching the ragdoll stuff happen than just I got decimated by a bomb and I barely exist anymore. Like when I get hit by something and I go flying like 400 feet in the air, that's more funny to me than some of the gore, I think.
Yeah. And then when you're talking about the gore on the bugs, the Terminids, I believe they're called, if memory serves me, just shooting off their hard-plated, like, exoskeleton shells and seeing the fleshy bits beneath and, them ambling around as their limbs get sort of destroyed and just the viscera that comes out of them like a, I've lost the name of the movie, Starship Troopers, like in that. It's, in terms of gore, Helldivers 2 is really up there in terms of making you feel like you're just shredding.
And it shows up on the character. So like even in like the victory screen, you're like covered in stuff.
Covered in blood.
Yeah, it's like you've had a bad round if you're not covered in blood by the end of it. And it's like
too clean.
But yeah, also like the explosions I think are worth noting in this. Like the watching enemies explode and the parts go all over the place. Like we mentioned, the blood tech is very intense in this, but
there's something to be said about dropping a 500-kilo bomb on a bug nest and just seeing the aftermath of all the bits flying everywhere.
So this is definitely like the war aspect of gore as opposed to like the more horror side of gore.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it does it very well. Kind of in the similar vein, actually very similar. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, Greg.
Yeah.
A lot of the same things we're talking about here. The enemies, the disgustingness of killing some of these enemies.
I mean, like the 40k IP is called Tyranids and the other ones are called Terminids. So obviously like there's a lot of influence for 40k and that's fine. It's influenced a lot of people. It's been out for decades. So has Starship Troopers. I'm a big fan of like non-human violence, which is great for Helldivers and 40k. Like I love ripping Tyranid arms off. I love pulling, like it's almost like they're almost close to similar games, Sam. They really are. Like you're ripping off carapaces of giant insect creatures and they're seeing their muscular innards. You're stabbing them with their own hands and arms through the head. Gratuitous amounts of blood spilling out everywhere when they're just doing, you can literally take a Tyranid by the tail, slam him down on the ground and turn him into just paste. And I think that's it definitely lives up to that power fantasy, that one man army master chief. You don't need an army of space marines. You only need 3. That is the army. You only need 3 space marines. And I loved it. And even when you're fighting demons, same thing. Demons get, they kind of poof into dust, into glitter dust rather than blood, but you can still get some gore of that with their armor exploding and pieces of the armor going everywhere. It's great. The different enemy varieties you can tear apart, and there's lots of different execution animations, lots of different death animations. Really super impressive. throwing a grenade into a big nest of the hormagaunts and have them explode and go everywhere. It's very, very gratifying.
Yeah,
Mhm.
talk about the executions. It really harkens to the Doom glory kills, just ripping things apart with your bare hands
Yeah.
and seeing the
Yeah.
viscera sort of pour out. And it's like,
Yeah. It's
You've got-
funny that both these games that we just mentioned are like they both have this like nationalist or like patriotic undertone too, right? Obviously, it's an Emperor and Warhammer, but like
big nationalism. Yeah.
yeah, there's a
For the
lot of
Emperor, for
nationalism
Super
and
Earth.
yeah, Super Earth.
Yep.
There's a lot of like faux patriotism in both. These
Yes.
games.
No, definitely.
And-
Yeah, definitely is. Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah, it's
they're
nationalism.
both kind of
with the
lampooning it
disguise of-
too.
Both kind
Yeah.
of making fun of
Oh.
the military-industrial complex for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So I appreciate that aspect of it too.
Mhm.
Sorry, my
Oh,
voice is
weapons
gonna-
too.
I'm
Like,
gonna,
you know,
I'm gonna lose my voice today.
you can shoot, you have bolt rifles, bolt pistols, but then you have melee weapons. You have power swords and chain swords and thunder hammers. Like, you can smack a head clean off with a thunder hammer or smash a body into nothing with a thunder hammer,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. The melee and the ranged weapons, which is kind of cool as well.
Nice. But yeah, very similar. Both deserving to be
Yeah,
here.
but definitely, yeah.
I
Terminids.
mean, this is the category for them. TJ, what about the Gore and Slitterhead?
Yeah, so this game is a very strange one. The premise of it is that there's these creatures called slitterheads that like basically disguise themselves as humans, and then when they're hungry, they grab one and their head transforms into a tendrily blade, and then jabs into the person's head and sucks their brains out. So every victim you come across in this game is horribly mutilated by the time you find them. And then there's the fact that like the way you fight those things is there's this spirit that has like a vendetta against them, and it can inhabit any human. And there are some humans that are more compatible with its abilities. And to fight back against the Slitterhead, it takes them over and uses their blood as a weapon. As like it forms them into blades and clubs and stuff.
Okay.
So
Gross.
the creatures in this game are immensely like they're straight up Cronenberg monsters. Every one of them. And we're talking about like everything from just like tentacles to just like transforming into fleshy, horrible praying mantis monsters. And the thing about that is that Gore works both ways functionally in Slitterhead. If you're inside of a human and they landed an attack on that human, they have a chance of like cutting the limbs off that human while you're in their body. And if they kill that human, you have to quickly leave them and go grab another host. But like if they don't die, you can regrow their limbs so they can fight again. And so like it's a pretty brutal setup where you battle back and forth with these monsters that are stronger than most humans by like utilizing this sort of mind control or possession mechanic to just overwhelm them until you can finally bring the monster down. It's a bloody game. I wouldn't say it's a horror game. It's more of like an action game with horror elements, but the gore in it was both visually and functionally impressive and disgusting.
Does it what you just described to me, because I've only seen bits of it, it sounds like The Thing. Like, is it kind of like The Thing where like that's like a bio monstrosity that can just like do a bunch of weird stuff with anatomy?
The Slitterheads are like that.
Yeah.
They come in all sorts of different forms. The spirit can only do so much with a human depending on how compatible they are with the possession. Like regular humans, they can just form their blood into a club, but some of them can like work with the spirit. And like one of the gals that you get early, she can straight up form blood claws, and she has abilities that apply to those. And at the same time, every time you use a power with blood, you're using that human's blood, so you're taking away from their health. So there's a lot of interesting systems at work as far as like
That's so gross.
the violence in this game goes.
Nice. And then we got one last one. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Sam, how good is the gore in this?
Quite good. I've always been a big fan of Dead Rising, and
Mhm.
to see the visuals souped up to modern, standards is really exciting. And there's something to be said about the pure joy, the clean, pure joy that you get of just carving through zombies and seeing limb cleaved from torso, head decapitated, the spinal column in the top of the neck, slicing a zombie down in half and seeing them peel apart and seeing the intestines and such inside and having blood all over the ground. So good. Love that. Give me
Nice.
more.
Yeah, I'm glad they went this route though, because the first Dead Rising was magical,
It
and
was.
this feels like it's captured some of that again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I am going to lose my voice today if I keep talking.
No worries, mate. TJ, you had a little bit of time with Dead Rising, I believe.
Good. And yeah, the gore in Dead Rising has always been ridiculously over the top. Like we're talking about, you get a katana and you're just cleaving zombies diagonally, and their pieces just falling off as you go. Sledgehammer. The sledgehammer has always been fun in Dead Rising.
Mm-hmm.
Like just
big overhead slam. Yeah.
mashing somebody's melon into paste.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not as if Frank can't really get like decapitated or anything, can he? I'm pretty sure it's just the zombies that can suffer your wrath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're not going to see that sort of like, zombie. We're not going to get into an ethical thing about whether zombies are humans or not, right? But you're not going to see the actual like live people being injured to that degree.
It's intense too. Like when a survivor gets got in that game, it plays a little cutscene, and usually it involves them just getting torn limb from limb.
It's horrific usually. Awesome. These are 4 very worthy nominees. 2 of them are kind of similar, but the other 2 are pretty different. So I don't know. What do you guys say? Should we get to voting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with Steve.
I'm gonna enact my comeback for this one. I'm in between a couple.
David.
As much as I would love to give Warhammer some, no, you know what? I'm going to go with Warhammer. As much as I like Dead Rising, it's not before, it's done its thing before. Space Marine 2 is pretty gory. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah. I'll come back for the absentee builds. Danny.
Show Helldivers 2 some love. So you have a good time being covered in bug guts.
Yeah. It is some of the most visceral gore we've seen this year in a video game. Like just the sheer amount of blood and body parts that you encounter. It's like it's
committed.
It's like cartoony almost though. Like yeah. Greg.
Yeah, I'm going to Space Marine.
Yeah. TJ.
I think this is one chance where I'm going to be able to talk about Slitterhead really, and I think that like I always love gore with impact, but I also love gore with function, and it does both very well.
Nice. Sam.
I'm really conflicted. I might have to go with Helldivers 2, if only because you can inflict that damage on your allies, and that's really funny.
Oh man. How many times did I accidentally kill you? How many times did I accidentally kill you?
I'm convinced you're working for the Tyranids. Terminids, sorry. I'm convinced you're working
so
for
The
funny.
lawsuit's going to come in a minute.
I
You
knew
were
it every
grenading
time.
me constantly. I don't know what you were doing. I think, you were doing it on purpose.
No, I wasn't. I'm just that bad at the game. I was like throwing grenades at Sam's feet while he's trying to get in. So he's like doing the Tetris inputs on one of the consoles, and I'm just like You know what it is? The button for is one of the triggers for grenade, right?
Yeah, it must be left trigger.
I think I just would accidentally hit it when I was trying to hit the shoulder button or something. So there's a lot of bad button inputs on my part. Yeah, I'm terrible at Helldivers. Like, but somehow we would win our missions.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Helldivers 2 just, yeah, I think the friendly fire, it's good you brought that up. It is really funny to blow your friends up. Okay. So we're back to Steve.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Slitterhead.
Interesting. Okay. Let's get these absentee ballots in. What do you guys say?
Yeah.
Donovan. We don't have any because this was a category that we didn't pick.
Oh, that's
Bill-
right.
Yeah, we
Bill
didn't have that
quickly
one. We had
messaged
horror.
me. Bill did say Helldivers 2, if that's any help.
I did message Bill asking him, so that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so Bill voted for Helldivers.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than not having any. Let's see. I think because Ozzy and Donovan were they're briefed on a different list of awards, they might not have absentee votes here.
Right.
Yeah, Bill is around. I don't see Ozzy and Donovan's on. Yeah, so anyway, they're not gonna be able to vote. Let's see. Right now it's Helldivers and Slitterhead and Space Marine 2. This is tough.
Mm.
This is tough. I'll be honest with you, because like I like everything that TJ said about Slitterhead and like how it's functionality, like fashioning weapons out of body parts and stuff. Like that's solid. I really loved watching your takedown videos, Greg. The 40K takedown.
Oh yeah,
stuff,
the execution moves. Yeah, the takedowns. Yeah.
They're great. And I remember everyone talking about how hard it is to actually execute one of those attacks in like the tabletop game. You have to like roll the right whatever to have that happen.
Usually you get like a 6, and then like you get to roll like an additional d6 or something, and then you can one shot it if you do something like that. Plasma guns do that.
So I think the fact that it's so much easier to do in the game as opposed to the tabletop game, I think is pretty cool. But like Helldivers, just a sheer amount of blood and guts.
Mhm.
Like it's really good at that. Like I think it's a standout kind of game when it comes to that. I would like to see an ultra-violent Gears like that. Because as good as Gears has been, I don't think it's ever been that violent. Like I don't think there's ever been that many enemies on screen.
No,
No,
it
not in
doesn't happen.
Gears. But
Yeah.
you got
Not in
you
Gears.
got the chain. They have the chain guns, which are obviously inspired by chain swords. Like there's a lot of 40K influence in Gears series. Ton of it.
No doubt. And I think there's 40K influence in Helldivers too also.
Yeah. It's
But
been around. It's been around since like what, the late 80s. So like it's been around a long time. And that's But that's cool to see it reverberate through all the different genres of game design from Gears to Helldivers to whatever. Yeah.
So instead of causing a runoff election here, I just voted for Helldivers. So Helldivers wins. Congratulations. Is Arrowhead, right? Isn't that the
Yes.
I believe so. Yeah.
Arrowhead,
I believe that
Arrowhead
is
Studios?
correct.
Congratulations. You won a Shacknews Award for the best gore of the year 2024.
Join the Helldivers, the galaxy's last line of offense.